Have you noticed your ponytail getting thinner, your part getting wider, and more hair left on your pillow than you're comfortable admitting? And you're starting to wonder if this is just something you have to accept as you get older. You run your fingers through your hair, and what used to feel thick and full now feels fragile, almost like it's betraying you. You look in the mirror, and that confident woman you've always been is starting to feel invisible, like your hair is taking your identity with it as it falls away strand by strand. You've tried different shampoos. You've switched products, you've even cut your hair shorter, hoping that would help, but nothing seems to stop the shedding that keeps showing up in your shower drain, on your clothes, everywhere you turn. But here's what I need you to know right now. What I'm about to share with you isn't another expensive treatment or complicated routine that takes over your life. This is about one specific food that researchers and doctors have quietly known about for years. A food that targets the exact biological breakdown happening in your hair follicles right now. And when you understand why this food works and how to use it properly, you can actually start seeing results in as little as 8 to 12 weeks. I've talked to women who thought they'd tried everything, women who felt hopeless about their thinning hair, and when they made this one strategic food change, along with understanding what was happening in their bodies, they started noticing their hairbrush collecting less hair, their part looking less obvious, and that confidence starting to creep back in. Before we dive into exactly what this food is, do me a favor, hit that like button right now and drop a comment telling me your age and where you're watching from, because I want to know how many women are dealing with this exact struggle. This information needs to reach as many women as possible, because too many of us are suffering in silence, thinking we're alone in this. Now stay with me here, because what I'm about to explain is going to completely change how you think about hair loss after 50. Most women believe hair loss is just about getting older, like it's this inevitable thing we can't control. But medical research has shown us something completely different. Your hair follicles, these tiny living organs in your scalp, they're not just dying because of age. What's actually happening is a perfect storm of 3 specific biological breakdowns that all happen to hit at the same time right around 50. And when you understand these 3 things, suddenly the solution becomes crystal clear. Let me walk you through this in a way that makes sense. Coming in at number 5, we need to talk about what's happening with your protein stores, because this is where everything begins to fall apart and most women have no idea this is even happening. Your hair is made up of something called keratin, which sounds fancy, but think of it like the bricks that build a house. Keratin is a protein, and your body has to manufacture it from amino acids that come from the protein you eat. Now here's what happens after 50 that nobody talks about. Your body's ability to absorb and utilize protein starts declining. You might be eating the same amount of protein you always have, but your body isn't processing it the same way anymore. One woman told me she'd been eating what she thought was plenty of protein, chicken at dinner, maybe some Greek yogurt for breakfast, but when she actually calculated it out, she was only getting about 40 to 50 grams a day. For a woman over 50 dealing with hair loss, research suggests you need closer to 75 to 100 grams daily, and more importantly, you need it distributed throughout the day, not just all at dinner. What this really means is your hair follicles are literally starving. They're trying to grow hair, but they don't have the raw materials to build it. Imagine trying to knit a sweater, but you only have half the yarn you need. You might start the sweater, but it's going to be thin, weak, and fall apart easily. That's exactly what's happening to your hair right now. The growth phase, what doctors call the anagen phase, gets shorter and shorter because your follicles can't sustain growth without adequate protein. You'll notice this as increased shedding, especially when you wash your hair or brush it, because those hairs never properly anchored themselves in the first place. The fix here is intentional protein distribution. You want 25 to 30 grams at breakfast, another 25 to 30 at lunch, and the rest at dinner, because your body can only process so much protein at once. Women who've made just this change report noticing less hair on their pillow within about 3 weeks before any visible regrowth even starts. But as helpful as understanding protein is, we need to move to number 4. And this is where things start getting really concerning, because this one affects almost every woman over 50, but barely anyone gets tested for it. I'm talking about your iron stores, specifically something called ferritin, and this might be the most overlooked cause of hair shedding in women your age. Now I know what you're thinking. You're not anemic. You don't feel tired all the time, so iron can't be your problem, right? Wrong. And here's why this is so deceptive. You can have perfectly normal hemoglobin levels, the test your doctor usually runs, but have completely depleted ferritin stores. And ferritin is what your hair follicles actually need to function. Let me explain this in simple terms. Ferritin is like your body's iron savings account. Hemoglobin is your checking account that handles day-to-day operations. Your body prioritizes keeping the checking account full because you need that for survival, for carrying oxygen in your blood. But when your iron savings account, your ferritin, starts running low, your body makes a choice. It says we're going to shut down non-essential systems to protect the vital ones. And guess what your body considers non-essential? Your hair. Research has shown that women need ferritin levels above 70 nanograms per milliliter for optimal hair growth. But most doctors won't flag your ferritin as low unless it drops below 30, and some won't mention it until it's below 15. That huge gap between 15 and 70, that's where your hair loss is happening, and nobody's telling you about it. Many American women over 50 are walking around with ferritin levels between 30 and 50 thinking everything's fine because their doctor said their iron is normal. But their hair is thinning rapidly and they have no idea why. One woman shared with me that after years of unexplained hair loss, she finally got her ferritin tested specifically, not just her standard iron panel, and it came back at 38. Her doctor said it was normal. She pushed for iron supplementation anyway, and within 4 months her hair shedding decreased by about 60%. She could literally see the difference in her part. Here's what you need to do. Ask your doctor for a ferritin test specifically, not just a standard iron panel. If your ferritin is below 70, talk to your doctor about supplementation. Some women respond beautifully to dietary iron from sources like red meat and dark leafy greens, but many women over 50 need actual supplementation combined with vitamin C to help absorption. And you've got to be patient because it takes about 3 to 4 months of consistent supplementation to rebuild those stores and see hair improvement. Now we're at number 3, and this one surprises people because we usually think of it for bone health, but vitamin D is absolutely critical for your hair follicles, and here's what most women don't realize. Your hair follicles actually have vitamin D receptors on them, which means they're designed to use this vitamin directly. Vitamin D helps create new follicles and activates the growth phase of existing ones. Studies have found that women with hair loss frequently have vitamin D levels below 30 nanograms per milliliter, and some research suggests optimal levels for hair health might need to be closer to 50 to 80. After 50, your skin becomes less efficient at producing vitamin D from sunlight. You might be using more sunscreen, which blocks production, and you might not be getting outside as much as you used to. All of this creates a deficiency that directly impacts your hair. What you'll notice is that your hair doesn't just thin, it actually feels different, more brittle, more dry, less resilient. That's because vitamin D also supports the oil glands in your scalp. Many women report that when they correct their vitamin D levels, not only does hair shedding slow down, but the new growth that comes in feels healthier and stronger. Doctors often see in clinical practice that women who bring their vitamin D up to optimal levels experience improvements in hair quality within about 12 to 16 weeks. Though it can take longer to see significant regrowth because hair grows slowly, only about ½ an inch per month, The solution is getting your vitamin D tested with a 25-hydroxy vitamin D blood test, then working with your doctor to supplement appropriately. Most women need between 2,000 and 4,000 international units daily, but some need more depending on their starting levels. Food sources help, but usually aren't enough on their own. Fatty fish like salmon, which we're going to talk a lot more about in a minute, contains vitamin D, as do fortified foods and egg yolks, but supplementation is usually necessary to get levels optimal. Coming in at number 2, and this is where we start getting to the heart of the matter, we need to talk about inflammation and omega-3 fatty acids, because chronic low-grade inflammation is absolutely devastating to your hair follicles, and most women have no idea this is even happening. Think of inflammation like rust slowly corroding metal. You don't see it happening day by day, but over time it breaks down the structure until things start falling apart. That's what's happening to your hair follicles right now. After 50, especially during and after menopause, your body's inflammatory markers naturally increase. Some of this is hormonal, the decline in estrogen, which has anti-inflammatory properties. Some of it is metabolic changes. Some is dietary, because many women eat a diet heavy in omega-6 fatty acids from vegetable oils and processed foods, but very low in omega-3 fatty acids. And this imbalance directly promotes inflammation. Medical research has shown that this inflammatory environment around your hair follicles literally chokes them out. It restricts blood flow to the scalp, which means fewer nutrients and less oxygen reaching your follicles. It disrupts the normal hair growth cycle, pushing more hairs into the shedding phase prematurely. It can even damage the follicle itself over time, leading to miniaturization where the follicle shrinks and produces thinner, weaker hairs until eventually it stops producing hair altogether. Here's what makes this especially cruel. You can't feel this inflammation. There's no pain, no obvious symptoms. You just notice your hair getting thinner and you have no idea why. Many women describe feeling frustrated because they're doing everything right, eating reasonably well, exercising, managing stress, but their hair keeps falling out. What they're missing is this hidden inflammatory process that's happening beneath the surface. Now, here's where omega-3 fatty acids become absolutely critical. Omega-3s, especially the types called EPA and DHA, are powerfully anti-inflammatory. They actually get incorporated into your cell membranes and change how your cells respond to inflammatory signals. For your hair follicles, this means improved blood flow, better nutrient delivery, less oxidative stress, and a much healthier environment for hair growth. Research published in clinical journals found that women who supplemented with omega-3 fatty acids and antioxidants for 6 months experienced significant improvement in hair density and reduction in hair loss compared to women who didn't. We're not talking about minor improvements. We're talking about measurable, visible differences in how much hair they had. But here's what most women do wrong. They hear about omega-3s and they buy a random fish oil supplement or start sprinkling flax seeds on their yogurt. And while that's not bad, it's often not enough to make a real difference. Your body needs therapeutic amounts of omega-3s to reverse inflammation, and you need the right type. The most effective omega-3s for hair health are EPA and DHA, and these come primarily from marine sources. Flax seeds and walnuts contain a different type called AOA that your body has to convert to EPA and DHA, but this conversion is really inefficient, especially in women over 50. You might only convert 5 to 10% of what you consume. So while these plant sources are beneficial, they're not the solution on their own. What you really need is direct EPA and DHA, and this brings us perfectly into our number one most important food, the absolute game changer for hair loss in women over 50. This is it. This is the big one. And if you do nothing else after watching this video, please implement this one thing because it addresses multiple hair loss factors simultaneously, and it's supported by decades of research. The number one food to stop hair loss in women after 50 is fatty fish, and specifically salmon is your absolute best choice, with sardines, mackerel, and wild trout as close seconds. Now, before you think this is too simple or you've heard this before, stay with me because I'm going to explain exactly why this works, how much you need, and the specific way to incorporate it that actually makes a difference. Salmon is like a perfect storm of hair healing nutrients all in one package. First, it's loaded with high-quality complete protein, the exact amino acids your body needs to build keratin. A 4-ounce serving of salmon gives you about 25 to 30 grams of protein, which is perfect for one of your main meals. But it's not just the amount of protein, it's the quality. Animal proteins are more bioavailable than plant proteins, meaning your body absorbs and uses them more efficiently, and this matters tremendously when your protein absorption is already compromised by age. Second, salmon is one of the absolute richest sources of EPA and DHA omega-3 fatty acids. A 4-ounce serving of wild salmon can give you anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of omega-3s. To put this in perspective, studies that showed hair improvement used supplemental doses between 500 to 1,000 milligrams daily, and you can get that in one serving of salmon. These omega-3s go directly to work reducing the inflammation around your follicles, improving blood flow to your scalp, and nourishing the follicle from within. Women who've increased their omega-3 intake consistently, whether through salmon or high-quality supplements, report that one of the first things they notice is their scalp feels healthier. That tight, sometimes itchy feeling many women get with hair loss starts to ease. The next thing they notice, usually around 8 to 10 weeks, is reduced shedding, not stopped completely, but meaningfully reduced. You start seeing less hair in the shower, less on your pillow, less on your clothes. Third, salmon is one of the few excellent food sources of vitamin D. Most foods contain very little vitamin D, but salmon is naturally rich in it, especially wild-caught salmon. One serving can provide you with a significant portion of your daily needs. Remember, vitamin D is critical for follicle function, and most women over 50 are deficient. Getting it from food is always preferable to supplementation when possible because it comes with other beneficial nutrients. Fourth, salmon contains B vitamins, particularly B12 and other B-complex vitamins that are essential for red blood cell formation, which carries oxygen to your scalp and follicles. It also contains biotin, though in smaller amounts than supplements, but every bit helps when your hair is struggling. Fifth, salmon provides selenium, a trace mineral that's crucial for hair growth and protection against oxidative damage. Selenium deficiency can contribute to hair loss, and it's another nutrient that many women don't get enough of. So you see, this isn't just about one nutrient. Salmon addresses protein deficiency, omega-3 deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, supports your iron utilization, provides B vitamins and selenium, all in one food. This is why it's the #1 food for hair loss. It's comprehensive. It tackles multiple root causes simultaneously. Now here's exactly how to use this information. You want to eat fatty fish like salmon at least 3 times per week, and ideally 4 times per week. I know that might sound like a lot if you're not used to eating fish regularly, but this is about creating a therapeutic effect, not just general health. You need consistent, repeated intake of these nutrients to rebuild your follicle health. Each serving should be about 4 to 6 ounces, roughly the size of your palm or a deck and a half of cards. Preparation matters too. You want to avoid deep frying, which destroys the omega-3s and adds inflammatory oils. Instead, bake, broil, grill, or poach your salmon. Season it with anti-inflammatory herbs like turmeric, garlic, and herbs. Pair it with leafy greens, which provide iron and vitamin C to help iron absorption. Add sweet potato, which provides beta-carotene for scalp health. This becomes a complete hair healing meal. Some women worry about mercury in fish, and that's a valid concern, but salmon is actually one of the lowest mercury fish you can eat, especially wild-caught Alaskan salmon. The benefits far outweigh the risks for most women, but if you're still concerned, sardines are even lower in mercury and pack an even bigger omega-3 punch ounce for ounce. Plus, they come with edible bones that provide calcium. I know sardines aren't everyone's favorite, but many women have told me they've grown to love them mixed into salads or on whole grain crackers. What if you really can't stomach fish multiple times a week? Then you need a high-quality omega-3 supplement, but, and this is crucial, you need therapeutic doses. Don't buy the cheapest fish oil at the drugstore. Look for a supplement that provides at least 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA per serving, not just 1,000 milligrams of fish oil, but actual EPA plus DHA. Check the label carefully. You want it molecularly distilled for purity, tested for mercury and contaminants, and preferably in triglyceride form, which is better absorbed. Take it with a meal that contains some fat to improve absorption. But honestly, real food is always superior to supplements when you can manage it. The women I've talked to who had the most dramatic improvements in their hair were the ones who committed to eating salmon or other fatty fish 3 to 4 times every single week for at least 6 months. One woman told me she was skeptical at first. She'd tried so many things. But she committed to salmon Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday without fail. She also addressed her ferritin, which was low, and she increased her overall protein. After about 12 weeks, she noticed she wasn't collecting nearly as much hair from her brush. After 6 months, her hairdresser commented that her hair looked thicker, and she herself could see her part wasn't as wide. After a year, she had noticeable regrowth around her hairline, these little baby hairs that hadn't been there before. She actually got emotional telling me about it because she'd felt so hopeless. Now I need to be completely honest with you about expectations because this isn't a miracle cure, and anyone who promises you overnight results is lying to you. Hair growth is slow. Even when you're doing everything right, hair only grows about ½ an inch per month. And it takes time for the old damaged hairs to shed and new healthy hairs to grow in. You need to think in terms of 3 to 6 month timelines minimum. The first thing you'll notice, usually around 6 to 8 weeks, is reduced shedding. You're not losing as much hair. This is actually the most important early sign that what you're doing is working. The next thing you'll notice around 12 to 16 weeks is that your existing hair looks and feels healthier, shinier, less brittle. Then, after about 4 to 6 months, you start seeing regrowth, little baby hairs popping up around your hairline and part, full results where you really see significant improvement in density and thickness typically take 9 months to a year of consistency. This feels like a long time, I know. But think about it this way, that year is going to pass whether you make these changes or not. You can reach next year and be exactly where you are now or worse, or you can reach next year with noticeably healthier, thicker hair and the confidence that brings. The choice is literally in your hands or really on your plate. You also need to know that this works best when you address multiple factors, not just one. The salmon is the foundation, the #1 most important food, but you've also got to make sure your protein intake is adequate throughout the day, that your ferritin levels are optimal, that your vitamin D is where it should be. This is why I walked you through all 5 factors. They work together synergistically. When you address them all, you create an environment where your hair follicles can actually thrive again. Here's your action plan, what you do after watching this video. First, schedule an appointment with your doctor and specifically request blood work that includes ferritin, not just hemoglobin and hematocrit, but actual ferritin and also vitamin D25 hydroxy. These tests are critical baseline information. Second, calculate your daily protein intake for 1 week just to see where you really are. Track everything you eat and add up the protein grams. Most women are shocked to find they're only getting half of what they need. Third, commit to adding salmon or another fatty fish to your meals 3 to 4 times per week, starting immediately. Write it into your meal plan. Treat it like a prescription because essentially it is. Fourth, if your blood work shows low ferritin, work with your doctor on supplementation with iron plus vitamin C. If your vitamin D is low, supplement appropriately. Don't guess on these. Work with your healthcare provider for proper dosing. Fifth, be patient and consistent. Take progress photos every month because changes happen so gradually you won't notice them day to day. But when you compare month 1 to month 6, you'll see real differences. and document your shedding, like how much hair you're losing when you brush or wash. This gives you objective feedback that what you're doing is working even before you see visual regrowth. Now I want to be really clear about something because this matters tremendously. This won't make you 20 years old again. You're not going to get the same hair density you had at 25, and that's okay. What you can get is significant improvement from where you are now. You can get hair that's healthier, thicker, fuller than it's been in years. You can get your confidence back. You can stop feeling invisible. You can feel like yourself again. And that is absolutely worth the effort. You deserve to feel beautiful and confident at every age. And don't let anyone tell you that hair loss is just something you have to accept. Yes, some hair thinning is normal with age, but the level of hair loss most women experience after 50 is not just aging. It's nutritional, it's hormonal, it's inflammatory, and these things can be addressed. You are not powerless here. You have more control over this than you've been led to believe. So to sum this all up, salmon is your #1 weapon against hair loss because it simultaneously delivers high-quality protein, powerful anti-inflammatory omega-3s, vitamin D, B vitamins, and selenium all in one package. Eat it 3 to 4 times per week consistently. Make sure your ferritin and vitamin D levels are optimal through testing and supplementation if needed. Ensure you're getting adequate protein throughout the day, 75 to 100 grams spread across your meals. Address the inflammation that's choking your follicles by dramatically increasing your omega-3 intake, and give it time, real time, 6 months to a year of consistency to see the full transformation. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button, share this with other women in your life who are struggling with hair loss, and drop a comment telling me what surprised you most about this information. Subscribe to this channel for more evidence-based health information specifically for women over 50, because we deserve to have our health taken seriously, and we deserve information that actually works. Your best years are not behind you, they're right now, and you deserve to feel confident in your own skin, in your own hair, at every age. I'll see you in the next video.